That's outright propaganda. That's literally fake news. They just gave you an edited version of an answer that she actually didn't give. For any other politician, this interview on 60 Minutes would be a career ender. Last night, Kamala Harris may have, in fact, ended her plans to be president of the United States. You know how everyone's saying, why doesn't she do more interviews? Why doesn't she do a one-on-one interview? Where's the one-on-one interview? It was a disaster on 60 Minutes. Just an absolute and total complete internal combustion exploding on the sidewalk in front of the White House kind of disaster. And we are here for it, every minute of it. The only reason why in the back of our minds we're not completely enjoying this, relishing it, and celebrating how awful this woman is because the election appears to be close, and there's still a chance that she could win. After watching her performance on 60 Minutes, you will agree that that is one of the most terrifying things. I mean, we're close to Halloween, and this is scary stuff. Let's get right to it.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking. You supported looser immigration policies. You were for Medicare for all. People don't truly know what you believe, what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
All right. Now, a lot of people are giving praise to Bill Whitaker today for asking tough questions of Kamala Harris. And last time I checked, that's like the bare minimum requisite of a journalist who has risen to the stature of 60 Minutes. I thought that was like, okay, you're here to interview for the job at 60 Minutes. Okay, question number one, are you going to ask tough questions of people, especially people who want to be president of the United States? So why are we praising Bill Whitaker for doing like the bare minimum of what his job is supposed to be, number one? But did you see how that question was asked? See, now here's how Larry would ask that question, the exact same question. Madam President, you were pretty clear that you wanted to ban fracking. Now you claim that you don't want to ban fracking. What changed? What's different? What have you learned? Were you wrong then? Or are you wrong now? Or are you just pandering now? Were you completely misguided when you said you were going to ban fracking? Or were you right, but now things have changed? Please explain. Please explain. Were you just misinformed? Were you stupid about fracking? Did you not even understand what fracking is? In fact, while we've got you here, Madam Vice President, what is fracking? Can you just quickly describe what fracking is, that thing that you said you wanted to ban? Instead, he asks the question, you took this position, now you take that position. You take this position, now you take that position. I know you've heard this before. So maybe that's why people don't think they know who you are? What do you mean that's why? I don't need to know who she is. I need to know what she's going to do. And the fact that she's been on both sides of issues that are pretty black and white is not a problem with her understanding and being in touch with voters. It's a problem with her being a lying, two-faced hypocrite who will say whatever she has to say at any given time to get your vote. But that's why I don't work for 60 Minutes. All right, so with that softball served up for her, let's dissect her answer.
I have been vice president of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. What the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus.
All right, so now maybe she's saying here, listen, I'm a crazy San Francisco, California liberal. And from where we sat, fracking is just going to kill our planet. And so, of course, I wanted to ban it. But since then, I've been in Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia and all these places in the middle of the country that I used to just fly over and I didn't give a crap about. And they like their fracking. Apparently, it's important to them. And it's also important for energy independence. So now I'm going to try to reach consensus. And of course, then my follow-up would be, oh, thank you for admitting that you were a brain-dead liberal before and you didn't actually even give any thought to these issues before you took such a firm stand on them. Maybe you should look at all of your positions that way instead of injecting your crazy politics on the rest of us. But secondly, most importantly, you've got people who want fracking to continue so that we can be energy independent and energy isn't as expensive as it is right now. And you've got people who want to ban it because they think that it's going to kill the planet. Can you please explain how you reach consensus between those two disparate positions? You can have all the time in the world. Please explain to me how you find consensus. Go ahead. We're waiting. Yeah, that would be a boring interview, wouldn't it? We'd have a lot of dead air.
Where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions.
So if your value is that oil and gas exploration is going to kill our planet, and you're going to hold on to that value by still compromising, how are you going to do that exactly? Oh, another follow-up there, please, Bill Whitaker, to Madam Grand Consensus Coalition Builder. Could you ask her this? Can you cite one time in your entire political history that you have done that you have actually reached consensus on something with someone who disagreed with you? I've done the research. It's never happened. So please, let's stop heaping praise on Bill Whitaker of 60 Minutes. I know it sounds like he asked tough questions, but not really.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
Another great example. Look at this. No, actually, the problem has started with her administration. She literally inherited a secure border. She literally inherited policies that when people come to our border and ask for refugee status and the ability to come into this country to get asylum, they had to stay in Mexico or they had to stay in their home country and petition for asylum there. So we didn't have a flood coming across the border. It was she and Joe Biden who decided to lift all of those protocols and give us what we've got right now, which is at least 10 million people entering the country illegally, probably much more. So I'm sorry, Bill, but this problem that we're currently experiencing literally began on day one in the administration. But again, here we are just, extending all the grace, all the apologies, almost answering the question for her about the border. I know you're not really to blame for this. I know this has been going on for a long time. You know what? We don't know that, because we've seen quite the opposite. But that's all right. Let's go ahead and get to the question.
There was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
Now, he's going to ask that a third time, too, which is kind of funny, because when you frame the question as, was it a mistake? There's really no real way to answer it when you're a politician. You're basically giving her a permission slip to dance around it, number one. But number two, I would ask the question, again, a little differently. Why did you do that? Why did you lift all of those things? And when you saw what the repercussions were, why didn't you go back? Is it because your ideology catering to people who are non-citizens in this country and illegal immigrants, and catering to those open border advocates and activists that are so critical to your political coalition, that you put their interests above the rest of the nation and the rule of law? You keep saying you're a prosecutor. You keep saying that you were the DA of San Francisco and the Attorney General of California, and it's all about law to you. Law, law, law. Well, the law is that you're supposed to secure the border and not let people in illegally. The law is that people aren't supposed to come into this country illegally. So if the law is so important to you, why did you go out of your way to allow people and make it so easy for them to break the law? Or is that law not important? You also say that you had solutions at hand. Those solutions include amnesty for everyone who has broken our immigration laws, giving them a pathway to citizenship. What about the people who have actually done it the right way and are waiting their turn and not breaking our immigration laws? Why do you have no concern for them? But of course, Bill Whitaker doesn't really ask those questions, and she continues to lie about her record and about what happened at the border, and he just allows it to happen.
The policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem.
Do you understand how her answer to everything is, well, we have a proposal to fix that? But she literally caused the problem in the first place that now she claims she's trying to fix. That's the crux of the question here. Things were pretty much locked down when you became the vice president of the United States and Joe Biden became president. You then lifted all of those things to allow this disaster to happen. Why'd you do that? Was that a mistake? And her only answer is, well, we've got proposals sitting there. But those proposals, of course, are absolutely toxic to over half of this country. Madam Consensus Builder here is basically saying, well, you just need to get Republicans to accept the thing that we demand, which is amnesty for these millions of people who we, by the way, relocated into red and border ground states so that we can flip them blue for the rest of our lives. And everyone sees through these lies. Everyone.
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half. We have cut the flow of fentanyl by half. But we need Congress to be able to actually fix the problem.
Yeah, we need Congress to do it. Of course, she was able to create this problem without Congress. Also, when she says we've cut it in half, that's after having it go through the roof by the millions on an annual basis. And they only just in May exercised executive control to try to lock down the border a little bit. Cut it in half is not nearly where it was when they inherited the White House. And they only did that because they saw the election day on the horizon. More from 60 Minutes.
You are a gun owner.
That's not the first time I've talked about it.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock. I've had it for quite some time. Look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement. So there you go.
Have you ever fired it?
Yes, of course I have. At a shooting range? Yes, of course I have.
Yeah, the way she laughs really tells you that she seems genuine. Law enforcement. I love when she says she's law enforcement. Yes, I guess after watching Law and Order for a couple of decades on NBC, I suppose it's true that the DA is in law enforcement. But, you know, I could be a DA. You could be a DA. Any schmo can run for office. And when you're a politician is what you are. When she says I'm law enforcement, it makes it sound like she went to police academy or something. Meanwhile, a really interesting revelation here that she has a Glock, as Acostas Moros says, and he's an attorney that specializes in gun laws in the state of California. Let's blow this up for a second. Note that California law classifies all Glocks as unsafe handguns. That's state of California law. She was the Attorney General of California because they don't have a compliant chamber load indicator, lack a magazine disconnect mechanism, and until their lawsuit, caused California to repeal the requirement, of course, lacked microstamping. The only reason we can still buy Generation 3s is because they are grandfathered in, but they're still unsafe handguns. We can't buy more modern Glocks new in gun stores, just secondhand from exempt cops or from those who moved here with them from other states. She supported the Unsafe Handgun Act and expanded it such that microstamping began to be enforced in 2013. So why does she own an unsafe handgun? Kamala Harris, the former Attorney General of California, the former District Attorney of San Francisco, former U.S. Senator, Vice President, now she wants to be president, just admitted on 60 Minutes that the gun she owns is actually classified as an illegal unsafe handgun in the state in which she bought it. I don't think Bill Whitaker knew it. He was kind of chuckling. Oh, a Glock, that sounds so sexy. That's terrific. By the way, she also now lives in D.C., Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Mike Davis is an attorney in Washington, D.C. as well. I believe he was one of the counsels on the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. D.C. residents have to register their firearms. Has she registered her Glock? D.C. issues a gun registration ID card for each firearm with the make, model, and serial number. Let's see your card, Kamala. Does she have one of those? And by the way, the answer may be, well, she's the Vice President of the United States, so she's exempt from D.C. laws. But she is a D.C. resident. Her home actually is literally in the District of Columbia. It's not even in the federal triangle down there by the White House. She lives up near Embassy Row. It's the former Naval Observatory on Massachusetts Avenue near Wisconsin, really close to my radio studio. In fact, she lives in Washington, D.C. But if she doesn't follow Washington, D.C. law because she's the vice president and she's above it all, I guess this is another example of guns for she and not for thee. Moving back to 60 Minutes, though.
Groceries are 25% higher. People are blaming you and Joe Biden for that. Are they wrong?
Again, the framing, the fact that people are saying, wow, Bill Mitchell did a really good job asking these questions. Inflation is out of control. Eggs cost this. Hamburger costs this. Milk costs this. And all of those things, when you ask the manufacturers who are involved in the process of creating those products for people to be able to live off of, they'll tell you energy costs are the number one reason. The number two reason is because the federal government has printed so much money that they don't have, that's devalued the dollar. And that has made everything more expensive because the dollar's buying strength is not there. Oh, and by the way, because of the inflationary conditions that you've created, That also means that interest rates have jumped up. So every time one of those manufacturers needs to buy more equipment or more trucks for transport or refab their production line, then when they finance that purchase, everything costs more because of the interest rates increases. So aren't you responsible for people not being able to feed their children? Again, this is how I would frame the question, but I don't work for 60 Minutes.
We now have historic low unemployment in America, all groups of people.
That's actually not true. They've gone back to the unemployment numbers, close to the unemployment numbers that Donald Trump had. And the only reason they went up is because of the Wuhan virus that came out of China. But who's splitting hairs here right now?
We now have an economy that is thriving by all macroeconomic measures.
Wait, pause there for a moment. Can you just define what macroeconomic means? Who here thinks she can define macroeconomics? Go ahead and give your answer in the comments. Nobody believes she knows what macroeconomics means, but it's some buzzword that one of her handlers gave her. It's also not true. But I love the fact that after 2 months of trying to say that she's going to fix the economy, she's now back to Joe Biden's talking point, which is Bidenomics is working and we have the strongest economy in the world. You know what? Every time somebody has trouble paying their bills or isn't happy with the economy, the Trump campaign should play this clip for them.
Is thriving by all macroeconomic measures.
Our economy is thriving by all measures. We have the strongest economy on the planet. What are you people thinking? What are you talking about? You have no idea. You've never had it so good.
Prices are still too high. And I know that. And we need to deal with it. Part of my plan is what we must do to bring down the price of groceries.
There's nothing in her plan about bringing down the price of groceries because she has a complete mythology about why groceries are expensive. She wants to try price controls, which have never worked, and it's basically Marxism. Or she wants to go after the grocery store chains, Kroger and Giant and what have you, because of price gouging, even though they have absolutely no evidence and zero examples of any of those grocery store corporations engaging in price gouging. There's nothing in her plan. She has no plan. Real fast, and I want to thank the great X account, Maze Moore. He or she, we don't know, actually. Mazemore does a great job finding clips and showing you video clips and discovering things about them. It's a great account. You should all follow it. Remember yesterday's show where we showed you the clip on 60 Minutes about her complete word salad answer to one of these questions? Well, that was a clip that 60 Minutes put out 48 hours in advance of the show actually airing last night. Take a look at what they did here. On the top, you'll see the answer to the question that came out Sunday morning with word salad. And then you'll see down at the bottom how it aired in prime time. This is an example of CBS News doing very generous, heavy editing to make Kamala Harris look good, to make her look coherent, to make her look like she's got a brain.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this.
Wow. 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 I mean, that's propaganda. That's outright propaganda. That's literally fake news. They just gave you an edited version of an answer that she actually didn't give or didn't give immediately to the question that was asked, all to make her look good. They did this for Joe Biden, too, to try to, well, forget about trying to make him look smart or look good. They edited his interviews to just make him look like he was sentient. And now here's CBS News doing the same. I honestly, for any other politician, this interview on 60 Minutes would be a career ender. It would be over. This is why we have a primary process. This is why we have a pretty strong and long process to vet these candidates, to put them through the ringer, to have them run the gamut, so that they have to do interview after interview so that they can show that they can withstand the pressure and actually show that they have a command of the issues and can answer questions. And then we, the people, state by state, get a chance to have our voices heard. But all of that was thrown out the window for Kamala Harris, wasn't it? Every bit of it was thrown out the window. And now here we are. And yeah, if I'm a Democrat, I'm freaking out right now. But I'm a Republican, and I'm freaking out right now because we are 4 weeks away from Election Day. And that person you just saw, she could become the leader of the free world.